Okay, let's nitty-gritty. Let's start with the overview of the personal statement. So now this is actually the section that you all have to complete. And it's going to be individual for each student. So these are the 6 areas I want you to consider. So this is hopefully being recorded, and I will upload it somewhere and send you all a link so you can watch this afterwards and go through the slides again. So motivation for career in medicine. I'm going to be going through these in detail shortly. So why do you want to do medicine, basically? Your research into the demanding nature and requirements. So have you looked at what it's like being a doctor, basically? Have you looked at the caring side of medicine? For example, have you done appropriate work experience? Have you done or been in any activities that demonstrate some of the qualities that you need for a doctor? For example, leadership, communication skills. Have you done any, what extracurricular activities have you done? Have you got any extracurricular interests? And have you got any awards or achievements outside your school or college, basically? Now, it's not critical to have awards or achievements outside school or college, but it might help, basically. Okay, so that's the framework that I want you to use. As I've said, I'll give you copies of this discussion so you can go back later on and have a look. So personal statement format, 4,000 characters, and I think at the moment it's over 47 lines. It's done electronically. You know, when I went to medical school, it was all handwritten, but now it's done electronically through a web browser on the UCAS website. So a few tips here. Do spell check and grammar check it. Use software. So, you know, if you're typing it up on Microsoft Word, do use that to check for spelling, but also get a human to read it as well. You know, Microsoft Word doesn't always pick up certain grammatical, errors. Proofread it. Give others to read it and comment on it. Use your sixth form teacher, careers advisor, use your parents. It's very rare for you to get it right the first time. You're gonna be doing multiple drafts. Submit it in good time. As far as I know, the deadline is usually in October at 6 o'clock. Don't leave it until the last minute. Submit it in good time. I think at 6 o'clock, I don't know what's going to happen. I assume it will just stop people from submitting. What technically happens is if you submit after that time, the university doesn't or may not have to consider your application. So do stick to that deadline. The fifth, you have 4 choices, and the fifth choice can be non-medical. So you've got 4 medical choices or dental. And the 5th one you can actually add later, apparently. If you want, we've got a facility where we can check the statement for you. But to be honest with you, the vast majority of students, with our guidance and what's available and their tutor and their school support, it's quite easy to do a really good personal statement on your own. Here's some tips. Yeah, it has to be personal. Don't put any cliches or poetry in. Number of statements I've seen with a Shakespeare quote or something like that. You're just wasting space. You don't have space to put cliches or poetry in. Don't put anything that won't add any value to your statement. Make it fun and stand out from the rest. It's usually a human being that's going to be reading this. It might not be a doctor. It might just be a secretary. It might be somebody who's not even medically trained. They might go through them using a tick box exercise to start off with. For those of you that are applying to Oxbridge, they're looking for academic potential as well as your enthusiasm. They're looking for engagement with medicine beyond the school and extracurricular activity. For example, have you gone to any seminars? What else have you gone that goes above what a normal student would do? They're interested in your ideas and how you can critically evaluate them. I mean, these are okay for non-Oxbridge as well, but if you're applying to Oxbridge, then it's critical to put those things in. They don't want to simply see a list of things you've done and what you've learned. They want to see that you're self-motivated and able to manage a rigorous academic personal. So basically, they want to see that you can balance your work life with the rigors of academic study that you're going to get with a course like medicine. And also, your personal statement will likely come up in interview. Now, not every medical school has a statement on your personal statement, but make sure you know it inside out. And know it in any topics that you've mentioned in your personal statement. Again, the red bits are from Oxbridge, reading beyond the standard requirements of A level, attend lectures, seminars, etc., etc. Have you had any attendance at tournaments or competitions? That would be a good thing to put down. By all means, put down sports. So you can put down that you play rugby, you play football, but remember, you're at university to study, so you shouldn't spend a huge amount of time on your personal statement talking about your sporting achievements. Don't pack in too much. The tutor wants to see how you think and critically analyze things, and if you just put loads and loads of different things, you won't have time to explain each one in any depth. And remember, you don't have to come across as an expert. Again, make sure the grammar and spelling is correct. We've gone through that before. Write in detail about a few topics rather than lots of topics superficially. Okay, so if you mention something, for example, if you mention your work experience, you may have done work experience in 3-4 places, voluntary work in a hospital, work in a GP surgery, online work experience. Write in detail about a few topics rather than list, 7-8 different things. Justify everything that you've done. Yeah. So if you write in your personal statement, I find something interesting, write why you find it interesting. Don't just leave it blank. Don't just list books that you've read. Some people write, I've read such and such and such and such and such. Why did you read them? What made you read them? And what will you learn from them that will help you as a medical student? And so many students put things like, this was my childhood dream. And they even say, this has been my dream since primary school. It's a lot of nonsense. Don't write things like childhood dreams and aspirations from primary school, or it's just wasting space, basically. Make your personal statement factual. Don't go over the top. Yeah. Don't say you were passionate about a topic without a detailed explanation. Number of students I see writing, going on and on and on and on about something which isn't adding any value. Don't write statements that add any value. Like, for example, I'm doing A-level English because it helps me write essays. Stating the obvious, isn't it? It's not adding anything to your personal statement. Don't write long sentences that don't follow. Yeah. A sentence that can last half the personal statement. You're just going to bore the tutor. And tutors are human. They're going to make mistakes. They might mark you down. Don't lie at all. They'll find out if you lie. So for example, don't put down work experience that you haven't done, or try and exaggerate what you've learned. If you put down any extracurricular activity, that's got to show skills that can be translated and useful for you as a medical student, basically. So, for example, if you do play rugby, think about, what am I going to learn playing rugby that's going to be useful for me as a medical student? Well, there's leadership skills there. There's a time commitment. You might have to do sessions in unsociable hours after school. So all these things are all positive, and you can translate themselves. Translate the skills that you've learned from them onto your personal statement. Start strongly, capture attention. Yeah, we're going to go through that shortly. Don't beat about the bush. That basically means don't kind of exaggerate or write too much about a topic that isn't going to add any value. You don't have the space, basically, and don't be too cocky. Don't put any negatives down. Everybody's got negative sides. Everybody has got weaknesses and strengths, but I wouldn't put any negatives down. Or if you do, turn them into positives. Yeah. Finish neatly. We'll go through the last paragraph. Don't leave a cliffhanger or end in the middle of nowhere. And don't copy statements from the internet. Don't copy statements from any of our websites. Don't copy each other. They've got software that can detect. Well, the way it works, it knows all the personal statements that are publicly available. It knows all the ones that you've submitted, and it tells the person looking at it what percentage is copied. And if I assume then above a certain threshold, it causes an investigation. So don't copy each other. Write in your own words. Don't get somebody else to write it completely for you. There's no harm in getting somebody to help you with it and helping you write sentences and the structure of sentences. But don't get somebody, a PhD student, to write it for you from scratch. They'll pick up that that's a different writing style, and you'll get in trouble when you get to your interview, basically. And a lot of companies do use templates as well. So if you use a template, there's going to be a level of similarity. I think all of you should be able to write a personal statement on your own without resorting to something like that. Things that you should avoid: not enough words. Keep close to the character count. It doesn't look nice having lots of empty spaces, even though it's electronic. Lots of empty spaces. Make sure there's reflection. If you've seen something, explain what you've learned from it and how it's going to help you in your application. Too many students are still producing a list, literally a bullet list. Not only is that wasting space, but there's literally no reflection with a bullet list. For each thing you put down, you have to explain why you've put it down and why it'll help you in your application. Write down what you've gained from activities. Don't be too generic. The statement must be personal and unique. And again, I say, don't include negative comments. Don't say anything that you didn't enjoy or negative things about medicine. There are lots of negative things about medicine. Again, we're not going to go into detail today, but don't say things about pay or anything about doctor strikes or anything that is going to get you into hot water, basically. Again, these are things that you need to avoid. Again, we've gone through some of these. Don't waste space talking about purely about medical facts. Some students will say things like, I've got diabetes, I take my insulin, such and such and such. Don't bother with any of that. Don't write down medical facts. Don't talk about money or potential earnings. Yes, as a doctor in the UK, your earnings probably going to be above average, and there's very good job prospects. In fact, as you probably know, there's a shortage of doctors at the moment. But there's no need to mention that on your personal statement. Don't overuse repeated stock phrases. Don't overuse the thesaurus. Don't lose the focus on medicine. I know a lot of you are very passionate about other things, like I mentioned before. Don't start, for example, talking extensively about why you studied history instead of maths or something like that. Keep the focus on the personal statement of medicine. Don't go off on a tangent about things that aren't going to be relevant.